So guys, it's time for another wacky theory on this channel because I have an inkling that maybe, just maybe, we could see an April event take place very soon. Now I know what a lot of you might be thinking, and that is, are you completely out of your mind? Why would there be an event in April? Explain your reasoning right now. Well, I know it might have been a little unlikely in previous years, but in 2021, I think based on the evidence and leaks we have, it does make sense for Apple to have a mini event in April for another set of spring releases. So yes, hear me out, I have my theory, and so without further ado, make sure to like, subscribe, and join the Buttification Squad for the latest Apple news and rumours. And with that being said, let's just tuck in. So this pretty wacky theory really sparked from Jon Prosser because he revealed on his podcast Genius Bar that possibly we could see an event take place this year in a month where we usually never see any events from Apple. Now this, I can't lie, does make a lot of sense to me because I think Apple clearly wants to do more events this year because they've got comfortable with the virtual format and it also gives them more media exposure. And so much like we saw last year where we had 3 events take place in the space of a few months, I can see Apple doing the same this year. Now of course you might wonder, why do I think it's going to be April? Because John clearly does not mention the exact month this extra event could take place. And well, to that I say, I don't think Apple's going to have another event in the second half of the year because it's pretty jam-packed as it is with the iPhone, Apple Watch, and of course the new Macs. And so that basically leaves us with April and May, and we actually do have a leak from Takara that kind of gave me an insight into Apple's potential plans because they say that according to their supply chain connections, AirPods Pro 2 and a new iPhone SE Plus are rumored to launch during the April timeframe. And so yes, if Takara are right, which I'm assuming they are, then we can expect to see an event take place in April. And in fact, that neatly brings me on to what products can we expect at this potential April event. And well, I have a few predictions, and that begins with AirPods Pro 2. So I'm pretty confident about these releasing in April because number one, Jon Prosser has practically confirmed that AirPods Pro 2 will be a spring release, but number two, if you think about it, it wouldn't make a lot of sense for Apple to release AirPods 3 and keep on selling the Gen 1 AirPods Pro because as far as we know from the rumors, AirPods 3 are gonna be cheaper and yet they're pretty much stealing every single good thing about the AirPods Pro apart from ANC. And the thing is, if these are going to be $150 and AirPods Pro are going to be $250 and the only upgrade is ANC, I don't think many people will be upgrading to AirPods Pro, and so of course Apple's going to lose out on sales, and so the most logical thing to do would be to update AirPods Pro as soon as possible too. But of course, we are yet to see any real-life images of AirPods Pro 2, and so I am inclined to believe they won't be launching in March with AirPods 3, which have been leaked extensively, and so yes, I think these will be launching a little later in April. So what do we know so far? Well, basically Apple is going to be going for a stemless design with AirPods Pro, something like the Pixel Buds or the Galaxy Buds, which I'm not too sure about because I feel like the stem is part of the DNA of what makes AirPods AirPods. Because you know, if you see someone wearing white earbuds with a stem, they are AirPods. Without a doubt, they are always instantly recognizable, and that's something they do intentionally, and so it's a little odd they're going for a conservative design and blending in with the competition with a stemless design. Now, if I were to assume, I think the stemless design will be giving you a better seal, and so it could improve ANC and sound quality. At least that's what I'm hoping for. But apart from that tidbit from Mark Gurman, we really don't know much. In fact, Mac and Takara only told us the case would be getting ever so slightly smaller, but apart from that, they reveal nothing about AirPods Pro 2, and so it does seem they're still very much in development, and so if we do see them in April, it might be launching later into the month. Now, the next item on my list is the Apple TV, and guys, I'll be honest, I have no clue when these are coming out. I'm just predicting they could be in the April event, but since they have been ready for over a year now, they could literally come out whenever possible, and so I'm not really sure what Apple's plan is with the release of the Apple TV, because since it's a pretty low volume device for Apple, they could really drop this via press release, but I'm mentioning it as a possible announcement at the April event because, number one, they probably need some filler product to make up some time, but also Apple Arcade and of course this new gaming controller are things that I think Apple wants to promote on stage, and so because of that, we could see this Apple TV launch at the April event. So now we delve into the truly weird announcements we could see at this April event, and that begins with, as I mentioned before, the iPhone SE Plus. So I'm only mentioning this because a lot of leaks out there suggest that an iPhone SE Plus is happening this year. But honestly, that would not make any sense because the iPhone SE is updated every 4 years, and so of course we are way too early to be seeing any kind of SE3 or SE Plus, and I don't think we'll see one debut this year. Especially since, if you notice one thing about the leaks, they are never sure about the timeline of this SE3 release, because some of them, like Mac and Takara, claim we could see it in the first half of the year, some say second half, some say 2022, and some even say 2023. So it seems no one's really sure, they're just guessing at this point, and so yeah, I don't think we're seeing an SE3 or an SE Plus launch anytime soon. But of course, I have no insider knowledge, I'm just a guy theorizing on YouTube, and so I could be completely wrong. And so if there is a slim chance of an SE Plus coming out very soon, then what could it offer? Well guys, I've heard a lot of interesting stuff about the SE3, right from a notchless design to Touch ID in a sub $500 phone, which makes zero sense. So realistically, I think this is going to be a XR with a new chip. That's pretty much it, because Apple doesn't do anything drastic with the SE lineup. They essentially reuse parts that are already in circulation in the supply chain, and so yeah, Apple wants to make this as cheap as possible, and giving it insane features like Touch ID and a notchless design isn't exactly cheap. So yes, those are my thoughts on the SE Plus. If it happens, it will be a XR with a new chip that will probably start at $499, so it will replace the XR and the 11 in the lineup, but ultimately, I just don't see it happening this year. Anyways, we finally come to my ultimate wildcard theory, and that is a new M1 iMac. So why do I think this is happening? Well, of course, like I mentioned, I don't see the iPhone SE Plus being launched in April, and so of course Apple can't really have an event based on the Apple TV and AirPods Pro 2, because a format that Apple has with all the virtual events so far, except the November event, is that they focus on a main product followed by an accessory. For example, with the September event, we had the iPad being the main product, the Apple Watch being the accessory. The October event was the iPhone 12 being the main product, and then of course the HomePod Mini being the accessory, and November is the anomaly in this because we only saw the M1 Max, though I do have a prediction that maybe Apple's initial plan was to launch AirPods Max at this event as the accessory, but because of production delays, it got pushed back. And so coming back to my point, Apple needs a headline flagship product to be the face of the event, and AirPods Pro 2 and definitely the Apple TV are not that. But guys, you know what is a flagship product that could be the face of this event? The new iMac. So I've delved into this theory in other videos, which you can check out in the iCard above, but to summarize, basically Apple has not updated the 21.5-inch iMac in over a year now, and so it does suggest that a new refresh could be on the way. Now to add to this, if we do see a refresh, I'm pretty sure we will see an M1 powered version of the iMac to replace the aging old 21.5-inch base iMac with a super old Intel CPU and a 1080p screen. So yeah, that definitely needs to go as soon as possible, and I think an M1 powered version of the redesign would of course bring costs down and make the price as cheap as possible. But the thing is, if Apple was going to give us the M1 in this iMac, they have to release it before the M1X machines, and we are expecting to see the 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro at WWDC, and so of course we have to see the M1 powered iMac before June. And so yes, I have had an inkling that we could see an M1 iMac pretty soon, and since the main release at the March event is already the iPad Pro, I'm pretty sure they won't give us two big refreshes in a mini event, and so pushing back the iMac to April does make a lot of sense. Now there are thankfully a few leaks that could suggest this, because number one, John Prosser says the iMac is allegedly ready to ship, at least he mentions it as a wildcard, so I'm pretty sure that John and his sources do believe there is a small chance we could see a new iMac in spring. We also had the China Times claiming that we could see an iMac launch in spring 2021 back in 2020, and Min-Chi Kuo also told us that a 24-inch iMac was allegedly ready to release at the end of 2020, but was pushed back allegedly because of production issues. And so usually when Apple has to push back a product that was supposed to launch at the end of the year, they release it in the first half of the next year. And finally, certain configurations of the 21.5-inch iMac are just not available to buy, and so that again, in the past, has meant that a refresh to that lineup is pretty imminent. But guys, tell me in the comments below, do you think we can see an April event take place? And if we do see one, then what products do you expect to release? Anyways, thank you for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and join the Butterfication Squad for the latest Apple news and rumors. Check out the video in the icon above about AirPods 3 and iPad Pro being ready to launch for the March event. And on that note, I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya, peeps.